Israeli jets hit 20 targets within 2 minutes in southern Lebanon, hours before a possible US-brokered ceasefire.
As Russia trains North Korean troops along the Ukrainian border, MEPs reaffirmed EU support for Kyiv's forces.
A blast raised a huge cloud of white smoke over Tire province in southern Lebanon. It's a result of Israeli warplanes striking 20 locations within 2 minutes on Tuesday, including central Beirut, right after an evacuation warning. These strikes came hours before a possible ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, where Israeli, US, Lebanese, and international officials all have expressed their optimistic expectations. Even a vote was planned by Israeli Security Cabinet on whether to accept a US-brokered ceasefire with Hezbollah. The IDF claims that the 7 buildings targeted in the strikes were used by Hezbollah for the management and storage of funds. Killing 3 and injuring 26 in central Beirut, local residents say these were residential buildings. Hezbollah began firing into northern Israel, saying it was showing support for Palestinians a day after Hamas carried out its October 7, 2023 attack, which triggered the invasion of Gaza. Two sides have been exchanging barrages ever since.
Israel's cabinet is set to agree on a ceasefire agreement with Lebanon. Local media on Tuesday reported that under the proposed deal, Israeli troops would withdraw from Lebanon and stop fighting for an initial period of 60 days. In return, Hezbollah would replace its forces south with Lebanese army troops. According to the EU foreign policy chief, there was no excuse for Israel not to accept the deal.
Willing to continue the bombing. And every night Beirut is under severe bombing.
Meanwhile, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani also urged Israel to accept the deal. Speaking at the G7 meeting, Tajani said the respect for international law was important.
Abbiamo una comune visione della situazione in Medio Oriente, lavoriamo per la pace, ci auguriamo che presto si possa arrivare ad un cessate il fuoco in Libano e poi lavoriamo anche per un cessate il fuoco a Gaza, ma anche con una visione per il day after, per il giorno dopo.
The war between the two sides escalated in September, with Israel launching massive airstrikes in Lebanon and sending troops into the country's south. On Monday, the Lebanese Ministry of Health said that Israeli strikes had killed 3,768 people since the bombing began.
MEPs reaffirmed their strong support for Ukraine, condemning the military cooperation between Russia and North Korea during a debate at the European Parliament in Strasbourg. Leaders have called on the EU to step up Ukrainian support politically, financially, militarily and with humanitarian aid.
We know that the current level of assistance remains insufficient to tilt the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine's favour. We know that Russia has put its entire economy on a wartime footing and counts on the military backing of North Korea and Iran, as well as the substantial support provided by China. We need to step up our assistance.
European countries have been discussing plans to boost defence investments in Ukraine for months, with uncertainty surrounding the incoming US administration and its support to Kyiv under President-elect Donald Trump growing.
Russian forces continue to make significant tactical advances in western Donetsk region and are coming closer to enveloping Velika Novosilka and advancing towards important Ukrainian ground lines of communication supplying the rest of western Donetsk region and running into eastern Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. Geolocated footage indicates that Russian forces are advancing to the eastern outskirts of Velika Novosilka, just east of the Donetsk-Zaporizhzhia region border area. Moscow troops are also continuing efforts to eliminate the small pocket southeast of Kurakhove and northeast of Vuhledar. The Institute for the Study of War previously assessed that Russian military command has several potential courses of action in this sector of the front, and 2 of them are more probable. They can push west along the road to the Andriivka-Konstantinopel line from Kurakhove. They have already seized positions along the road. Recent Russian advances to central Kurakhove place Russian forces about 15 kilometers east of Andriivka. This would give Russian forces a stronger position from which to envelop a chain of settlements along the highway northwest and northeast of Vuhledar. Or they may continue advancing west along the road towards Andriivka while attacking into the pocket northeast of Vuhledar along the Uspenivka-Hanivka-Romanivka line, trying to force Ukrainian forces to withdraw westward to avoid encirclement. Such a maneuver could enable Russian forces to seize tactical positions in the area and level the front line from Sontsivka to Konstantinopolsk, placing Russian forces about 23 kilometers east of the Donetsk-Dnipropetrovsk region border at its closest point. The Institute for the Study of War assesses that Russian advances in western Donetsk region do not automatically mean the collapse of the Ukrainian front line, but Moscow's advances here may become operationally significant if the Russian command properly exploits these recent tactical successes.
Speaking on the sidelines of the G7 foreign ministers meeting in Italy, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock questioned whether the DHL cargo plane crash in Lithuania was a hybrid attack. On Monday, the cargo plane arriving from Germany crashed on approach to the Vilnius airport in Lithuania, killing one crew member and injuring 3 others.
Uns jetzt ernsthaft fragen müssen, ob das ein Unfall war oder nach letzter Woche erneut ein hybrider Vorfall zeigt, in was für volatilen Zeiten wir auch mitten in Europa bei uns gerade leben.
The cause of the crash remains unknown and an investigation is underway. Lithuanian officials said sabotage cannot be ruled out but stressed that there is currently no concrete evidence. Aviation experts who spoke to local media said that they noticed nothing out of the ordinary when they listened to the communication between the crew and the air traffic controller.
Matosi, kad tai buvo rutininė situacija, žiūrint įgulos akimis, tai buvo rutininė komunikacija tarp skrydžių vadovų ir pilotų. Jie nedeklaravo jokios pavojingos situacijos, jie nekalbėjo apie jokius gedimus, gaisrus, dar kažką.
Both Spanish and German officials will further assist Lithuanian authorities in their investigation.
More than 1,000 young people gathered in University Square downtown Bucharest, praising Europe and chanting, "Putin, don't forget, Romania is not yours." They are outraged by the percentage obtained by a nationalist independent candidate, Calin Georgescu, in the first round of the presidential elections. Winning 23% of votes, Georgescu had a strong campaign on TikTok where many of his videos went viral. So protesters believe that they were robbed by social networks and want to send an alarm signal to political parties for them to get involved in order to prevent Georgescu from winning. Denying accusations of extremism, Georgescu made statements on European values but also underlying neutrality.
Un singur loc care aparține doar poporului. Sunt acuzat de extremism, de legături cu țări apropiate sau îndepărtate. Fals. Total fals. Pentru că sunt dedicat cu totul, cu inima mea, cu viața mea, poporului român. Nu există est sau vest. Există doar România și pacea poporului nostru. Stabilitatea noastră economică și socială vine dintr-o neutralitate absolut necesară.
This is the 9th presidential election since 1989 revolution, and in that 35 years of time, Romania only had 4 presidents. Scheduled for December 8, Georgescu will face center-right pro-EU Elena Lasconi, the leader of USR party, which stands for Save Romania Union, who qualified with 90% of votes. One of them will be the 5th name to steer the country's direction. The agreement between the European Union and the Latin American countries of Mercosur is approaching its final stages. Being negotiated since 1999, the European Commission hopes to conclude this free trade agreement by the end of this year. But a tug of war is underway between European capitals, with France leading the charge against the text.
On sait que la France est clairement contre et d'autres pays ont des réserves comme la Belgique ou les Pays-Bas, l'Autriche et l'Irlande. Et là, c'est plus pour des raisons agricoles puisqu'on va avoir de l'importation de viande bovine qui peut mettre en péril l'élevage européen, surtout dans ces pays.
The agreement provides for import quotas into the EU for agricultural products such as 99,000 tons of beef, subject to 7.5% customs duty, and 180,000 tons of poultry, exempt from customs duty. However, Paris points out that South American producers do not comply with the same health and environmental standards as those in Europe. On the other hand, some 15 countries support the free trade agreement.
On a par exemple l'Allemagne qui a un intérêt puisqu'il y a plus d'exportations prévues grâce à cet accord et d'autres pays aussi comme l'Espagne. Alors pour l'Allemagne, on a clairement des exportations de voitures mais aussi des exportations de produits chimiques, pharmaceutiques et de pesticides. Et pour l'Espagne, on a des exportations agricoles mais plutôt des produits agricoles à forte valeur ajoutée. On pense par exemple à l'huile d'olive ou au jambon serrano.
The agreement provides for the abolition of custom duties in South America on European exports such as cars, car parts, machinery and pharmaceutical products, reaching a market of more than 260 million consumers. Berlin and Madrid can count on the support of Finland, Denmark, Croatia, the Czech Republic and Sweden. Faced with this alliance, France hopes to gather a blocking minority by seeking the support of countries that are currently undecided, such as Poland and Italy. To do this, France needs to convince 3 other member countries whose combined population represents more than 35% of the Union's population.